Tuesdays, happy hour is from 4 to 6.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What is
Shaken, not stirred.
Hold on. I'm not hearing it right. Hold on. We got it now.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Happy Tuesday, happy hour. We are finally getting to a season of movies that are fantastic. So I'm really excited. I know it's still early, but I would say Killers of the Flower Moon definitely kicked off Oscar season for sure. We did have, a few over the summer, which is, that happens here and there. I'd say more this summer than normal with Oppenheimer, Barbie, and Past Lives, and definitely quite a few others. But I feel like Killers of the Flower Moon definitely solidified. We're in Oscar season, and I'm really excited. I even got to see Anatomy of a Fall, surprisingly, last Wednesday. I was really excited that my theater was doing like an early showing of that, and I'm going to do a review. So yeah, very excited. I have a great guest coming on at 5, Cinematech. I found him during last year's awards season. He did do like a lot of live streams during the BAFTAs and the Golden Globes. And then I watched his replay. I replayed his Oscars live stream because I went out for that. But he had always great content, and he started doing a roasting of people's Letterboxd profiles, and it's like one of the funniest things ever. He's really great at like making them short too. So if you don't have time to watch a full live stream of him roasting people's Letterboxd profiles, they're just hilarious. So I highly recommend checking out his channel. I have also listed his Discord and his Letterboxd profile. He's just like so knowledgeable about film. Anytime I like kind of think like, oh, I know about film, and then I watch his stream, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen like a lot of those. So, but it's great. I think it's great to learn from each other and get recommendations from people. Different people have different tastes, and it's always good to broaden your horizons, or maybe even get reminded of a film that's always something you've wanted to watch, and then you talk to someone, they're like, oh no, you'd love it, you have to see it. It's like, it's great. So that's why I love having like super film nerds on here. I just think it's beneficial to everyone. So before we get into some things, cheers. I'm having a little red wine. It is the fall, so I think I don't really do a lot of whites, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go to the chat just to start, and then we'll get into it. Let's see here. Tyler, before I have to go, have you heard of or interested in seeing Dix the musical? I actually am, and I believe that's A24. You can correct me if I'm wrong. The thing that sold me on that is that it's Nathan Lane and Megan Mullally, and I saw that it's getting pretty well received. So yes, I am interested in seeing it. I actually could have seen it at my theater a couple weeks ago, and I just didn't get a chance to. But obviously, it's coming full, a wide release soon. So I'm definitely going to check that out because I think it'll be fun. And I think the composer is the composer that did Dear Evan Hansen, which was a hit Broadway musical. So yeah, I'm looking to see that. Hey Luke, how's it going? I'm doing quite well. Cheers. Happy Tuesday. And actually for everyone, so tomorrow night, I will be doing a live stream with my boyfriend. We're doing a like spooky Halloween movie type of what we watched this month. We don't do that all the time, but I think for like special occasions like that, we'd like to do that. So we're going to be doing that at 9 p.m. Eastern. But before that, I am going to be dropping onto Luke's live stream on at 8 p.m. He is celebrating his 500 subscribers. I'm really excited for him, and I think that's great. So congratulations, Luke, and it'll be a lot of fun. So we'll pop in over there tomorrow. Dimension Scott, hello. I'm doing quite well. How are you doing? Wilkie's Movies and More. Hello. Thank you so much for stopping by. Heisenberg, I love the name, love the profile picture. Yeah, I love that. Fantastic show. I love Bryan Cranston and I love Breaking Bad. So cheers. I'm in your chat sipping my beers. Oh, perfect. I can't wait to hear what you're drinking when you come on in. That's fantastic. And that is my guess, by the way, if you guys didn't realize that. I'm sure you guys figured that one out. But yes. It's the cinephile supreme himself. Yes, he is. He's like, I think he should be like just reigned king of cinephiles. I think that would fit. The View with Drew. Hey, Drew, how's it going? Everyone's doing great. Oh, he roasted you? That's fantastic. So this is a perfect example. So this lovely person in the chat said that Cinematech had roasted him during one of those live streams. So like they're so fun. And it's like he's not really mean, he's doing it because he loves film and he's like roasting people in like a really comedic way. So it's definitely like a Comedy Central roast or things like that. It's like it's out of love, he knows that everyone's watching like loves movies, and I think it's just he's just so quick and witty, and he's just cracks me up. So that's why I love it. The View with Drew. Good news, saw Killers of the Moon recently. Fantastic, Drew. I'm happy to hear that. And then there's one more thing about are you interested in seeing David Fincher? I'm so excited. Yeah, that's coming out in like 2 weeks, I think. I'm really excited about that. As I was saying earlier, I'm really just thrilled that it's been a long summer of talking about Marvel and DC, and don't get me wrong, like there's a time and a place. Those are fun films, but like Scorsese's correct, like they are amusement park movies, and that's totally fine. And that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be good. It's just it's a different caliber that you hold them to than the films you're going to be seeing in the next couple months, or at a festival. So I'm very excited. So, but yes, I'm super excited. I'm very like half and half on Mank. And I feel like David Fincher, I felt like that was just a passion project for him because he really wanted to fulfill making that for his dad, because his dad wrote the screenplay. But like, there's some things I love about it. Obviously, I love Gary Oldman. It was not my favorite that year, but I think that there are some people that just absolutely love Mank, and that's totally fine. So, it just didn't hit as hard as I thought it was going to. So yeah, so welcome. So yes, I did see Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm not going to be doing a review on my channel. I am doing a review of Anatomy of a Fall. I am going to be doing a conversation video with Bone Bridger and John Automates. We're going to try to film that later this week. Both Bone Bridger and John are moving, so we had to take a little bit of time off. But I feel like I really just want to discuss that movie in like a group setting. I'm not going to spoil it today at all, but that conversation will have spoilers for sure, because there are certain moments that I feel like just have to be talked about. I think someone said, if it was a 3-hour film, if they had cut like 20 minutes off, it would have been, a masterpiece. And I kind of like, I don't know necessarily feel that way 100%, but I can totally see that. And I think there were certain things that could have been chopped down a little bit. But I did like it a lot, and I was really moved, and I really couldn't get out of my seat in the theater after it was over. And then I like walked down the hall with my boyfriend, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'll talk about it later," because I didn't want to just like start. I don't know. I just felt like really affected by the movie. And then I start talking about like the certain aspects of the ending, and I just tears were just going down my face. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, even if you don't love the film, I'm just so grateful for filmmakers like that, so that's kind of what my vibe is about that film. Again, I'm not really going to go into fully my thoughts. Lily Gladstone is the heartbeat of the movie for sure, and my goodness, is she fantastic. So yeah, really happy that she was cast in that. And I mean, the whole cast is great. It was great to see Scorsese, De Niro and Leo like back on screen again, because they haven't done it since Leo was a little kid, and they are both of Scorsese's muses. So that was really fantastic, and their scenes together were really really great. So another week has gone by, and the actors' strike has not ended. They are back in talks today, though, so that's really good. It's getting really rough, and the situation is becoming actually really dire at this point, and they really need to come to a solution. I really hope that these studios finally give them, at least meet them halfway and give them something that they want, and understand how important the whole AI aspect is of it. Because they're starting to run out of time. So now it's more of okay, we're delaying movies so that there are actual movies to see next year, or late next year, or the year after, and that's when it gets pretty rough, because we can't really we can't go through another pandemic situation at the movie theater, because they're already holding on by a thread. So I'm hoping, for the sake of cinema, that it gets sorted out very soon. Yes. I'm gonna go back to the chat, and then I did do a mystery movie, mystery Monday movie last night that I want to talk about. But I'm gonna go to the chat first, then we'll do that. Hi, Tracy. Gin and tonic on this 80-degree day in Chicago. Not your typical fall drink, but love me some gin tonics. So I'm a big gin fan, Reloaded. So I'm totally there with you. I'm surprised it's 80 degrees in Chicago, though. My goodness. I'm in New York, and it is definitely not 80 degrees. I think it's not super freezing, but it's definitely in the low 60s, I'd say. So, but yeah, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Just finished Bones and All. Really good movie from Luca. I can never pronounce that last name, by the way. Dagnino. That's horrendous. I just butchered that. Either way, that I've wanted to see that. I've heard really good things about it. It looked very creepy in a good way when I saw the trailer. So, what do you think is the best movie you've seen so far this year? For me, it's Mission Impossible 7. For me, it would be Past Lives, which I've talked about a billion times, Anatomy of a Fall, and there's movies that I've seen that I just saw for the first time too that were just fantastic. I'll have to get back into that. I'll start this. Actually, this will be a good question for Cinema Tech too. What is the best movie of the year, or best movie he's seen so far? I think that'll be a good question to ask him. Heisenberg says, I'm going to see Killers of the Moon on Sunday. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to put this out there too. If you have not seen Killers of the Flower Moon yet, don't this is going to sound ridiculous, but don't worry too much about taking a bathroom break. It's totally okay. It's 3.5 hours long, and I think that the ending is so you need to be really fully present for it. And I feel like if you have not gone the whole time and you have to, and that's all you're thinking about, I think it's going to ruin the experience. And there are definitely clearly parts of the film that you can take a quick bathroom break if you need to. So don't feel you have to stick it through the whole time. So I just know people's minds can wander and stuff, and start to be like, oh my God, I have to use the restroom, blah, blah, blah. So don't worry about that. It is 3.5 hours, and probably 4 hours with trailers. At least your whole experience probably. So yeah, just don't enjoy yourself. You're a film person. You watch movies. You kind of have a good gauge on when is a good time to leave and come back. So yeah, I'm excited for you though. Very powerful stuff. My favorite movie of 2023 is Past Lives. Oh my God, Luke. Yeah, that's great. It's yeah, that ending. My goodness. Great choice. I didn't take a single bathroom break during Killers of the Flower Moon. Well, cheers to you, because my goodness, I definitely had to. But I'm always having a drink or something when I'm there, so that's probably why. They should give awards for if you don't for a 3.5 hour movie. Hey, Kal-El Daily, thanks for joining. I have seen one movie every day for the last 118 days. Wow, that's fantastic. I'm on my like best streak right now ever, and it's really just because there's a couple days where I actually was able to watch two, like back to back at night because one was short. It's like because horror films are much shorter if you think about it than a lot of other films. So I think that's easier to bang them out a lot more. Um, I mean, obviously, I'm generalizing, but I think for the most part, you can find a billion horror movies that are 90 minutes long. So it's pretty easy to see more than one in a sitting. Tracy the Butcher, be cool name for Halloween. That reminds me of The Boys. Isn't that his name, Butcher? Yeah, I love The Boys. I can't wait for it to come back. I have not started Gen V though. Has anyone started Gen V yet? I heard it's really good. Um, and I'm also questioning, do you guys think that if you do watch The Boys, do you think that next season 4 is going to be the end of it? Do you think I think it's going to be home I want to call him Home Runner. I don't know if any of you guys know Homestar Runner from the like early 2000s. That was like a website. Homelander. Yeah, I don't know if they can really do much else with his character after another season. So I'd be curious to see if you guys think so. But yeah, I love that show. Have you caught any of the Michael Flanagan shows on Netflix yet? You really need to jump on those, Tracy, this spooky season. I know, that's what I'm starting next. I'm definitely going to watch that. I've been really into Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I hadn't gotten around to that last year, so I'm kind of trying to make up for time. But I'm enjoying that. All of those though, I so far that I've seen, I think I've seen 3. They're all about people that owe people money and like what they would do for that, is as far as I've seen. Yeah. That's true. That's accurate. It's been like a week since I saw the last one, but and it's just very interesting. It's a common theme. That's really tough. I know it's definitely in the top 5 box offices for Scorsese. And number 1 was shocking to me, by the way. Number 1 was actually Shutter Island. I actually like that movie. I know it's like a really mixed film, but I remember seeing it in theaters and I thought it was fun and enjoyable, and I liked the twist, and it might have been my age or whatever, but I liked it. But that is actually like his biggest box office, and I don't know if that is adjusted for inflation, but if you look at all of them, that is number 1. I believe this is right under The Departed. Because actually Wolf of Wall Street didn't do well the first opening weekend. It did like 18 million, I believe, which is like shocking because obviously that movie did well over time, but its opening weekend, it did not do that well. Dimension Scott, what's up? How's it going? I never take bathroom breaks. Well, cheers to you. That is fantastic. You've got it together in that department for sure. How good I am when I go see my movies. Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, if you're just not drinking any liquid, then I guess it doesn't, you don't have to then. Her Gen V is fire, but what I hear, but every review kind of sounds like the horror movie Carrie. I mean, I'm definitely getting some like horror like X-Men vibes from Gen V, which is kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, again, I don't know if anyone else has, but Shutter Island, yes, it is. It actually is, and that's that's a great question because I'm wondering if a lot of people don't realize that it's very not his genre. That's for sure. So, yes, I think Shutter Island is a little overrated. Right? Yeah. No, I'm not saying it's like the most amazing thing in the world, but I feel like there's people that think it's horrible, and I don't think it's horrible at all. I think there's a lot of stuff in there that's really good. So, I would agree with that one. Fantana Orange Cal. Courtesy of work. Maybe I'm missing. I'm not sure what that means, but oh, is that Fanta Orange. Okay, I see what you guys are saying. Is that what you guys drink during the theater? Anyway, so the movie last night that I'm going to bring this up because I think it's not premiering for a couple of weeks. And I saw it last night as a Monday mystery movie. And I have some thoughts on this one. And I'm going to tell you right now, you do not have to rush to the theater to see this movie. That's for sure. And I will say first, I was, usually with those free ones, not free, but the mystery surprise movie, usually they're like PG-13. This was definitely a rated R movie, and I was really surprised because I feel like they usually have to obey by that. But yes, the movie's called It's a Wonderful Knife. It's a twist on the It's a Wonderful Life, and it also kind of toys with um a couple of this regular holiday tropes. Like I know like Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life are kind of the same thing. I feel like there's like some other things in there for sure. Like there was a scene that reminded me straight out of A Christmas Story with the bunny outfit. Like the girl gets like a pink workout outfit that she hates, and like her parents like, oh, put it on, put it on, put it on, and it's like very reminiscent of the scene in A Christmas Story. There's so many cool things about this movie, but I personally think that the script was just so lazy, and it was such wasted potential. I think I gave it 2.5 stars just because there were a few things that I did like. Justin Long was of course fantastic. And he's the villain, that's not really a surprise. I think if you watch the trailer, it's probably there. And also, it's not a surprise either because they literally let you know that in the first 15 minutes of the movie. So it's not like I'm ruining anything. Yeah, it was just really a shame. It ends and it's just, I feel like I'm on the wrong. I guess this is it. Oh, here we go. Crew. We got the cast and the crew. I would kind of wish they had like it. You could see everyone's photos on here. I feel like you can on the phone. I'm not used to going to on Letterboxd on the desktop here. Anyway, I think the concept is really awesome. A girl who just saved a lot of people from a killer, including her brother, gets mad the next year with her family, and she like walks off, and she just wishes she never existed. And then you get to see what the town is like without her existing, because that means she didn't save the rest of the people that night. And the killer continued to go on, and everything's kind of linked. And it's still scary. It still has the pacing's fine. The kills could be better. And I just it just was a little shallow. Like I think they really could have done some great stuff with this. So I'm curious if anyone in the chat is interested in this movie. It was definitely disappointing. I'm just going to tell you guys, don't spend money on it. I really can't imagine doing that. And like again, the aspects that are good, I just don't think they're gonna make it worthwhile for you. But like throwing on at home in between Halloween and Christmas, and I think it's fine. Okay, sorry. I'm like getting lost in the chat here. What's your favorite Scorsese movie? I haven't seen all, but so far it's The Irishman. This is probably a really oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Hang on a second, guys. Hold on. My deepest apologies. This should be turning back on. Yeah, here we are. Okay, good. I'm back. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I have no idea what happened. I actually do not like The Irishman, and I'm sure that's like a hot take for a lot of people. I just thought it was incredibly boring. I thought that at least the pacing of Killers of the Flower Moon was much faster. And kind of just kept you with it. But there's a lot of people that love The Irishman, including my boyfriend. So that's just me. I do love the classics though, like Taxi Driver and Goodfellas, Casino. I am sometimes torn with Casino and Goodfellas, and I debate which one's better, for like which one I prefer more. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. He's done some really great work. I recently watched Hugo, and I really appreciated that because it was just such a great celebration of film and like the beginning of filmmaking. And I thought that was a really great way to weave that into the storyline. I have a hard time watching Raging Bull. Not because it's not a good movie. It's a fantastic movie, but I have a hard time rewatching it because the character is so unlikable that it's just like I just don't care to just spend 2 hours or whatever with that person. But yeah, again, I'm not saying this is that The Irishman's not a good movie. It just wasn't for me, but a lot of people love that one. Had a stream and a guy was arguing Shutter Island is way better than Scarface. Yeah, that's I don't know. That's kind of like comparing apples and oranges too, I would say. That's like cuz Shutter Island is way more of like a psychological thriller and it's like a way less of a gangster film than Scorsese usually does. So, I would be comparing like Goodfellas and Scarface or, any of them really. That are not not Shutter Island. That doesn't really make sense. Um with 3-hour plus movies, theaters should include an intermission. I get it though, they want to maximize screening and profits, but man, a bathroom break would be great, plus another opportunity to buy concessions. Yeah, I think that's like a really great idea. And I really enjoyed when they did that for Grindhouse. That's the double feature they did with Tarantino's Death Proof and Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror. That was just like such a fun time at the theater, and they had all the fake trailers. And now we're getting the Thanksgiving movie, Eli Roth directing, that which I can't believe we're actually getting that. Yeah, and there was an intermission for that, so that was fantastic. I think just because it's you know I mean, I guess it depends on the film. Maybe some would lend an intermission better than others, but I wouldn't mind an intermission at all. Because I don't mind long films at all. But like, yeah, sometimes you just need like a 2-second breather to get back into it. Especially if the seats are uncomfortable and things like that. There are certain theaters that are definitely like you want to start to move around a little bit just because the seat's getting a little uncomfortable. Hello, Double Feature Podcast, Mika. Yes, very excited to have you here. Next week I'm doing a Halloween special panel. I'm going to be having Mika on and Draculina Caprice and our good friend KB, and we're going to just be doing a big spooky celebration of Halloween movies. So I think it'll be really fun. And it'll be like a little bit more of a change up for the happy hour live stream. Same time, same place. Just like a little bit more of like a Halloween party because it is going to be on Halloween. So figured it'll be fun. I like pasta. I loved your conversation last week with Film Drunk, my personal favorite film tuber. Definitely going to continue watching these and love the streams. Oh my goodness, that's so kind of you. Yeah, he was such a great guest. It was really fantastic to have him on. And just like him, because Film Drunk went to TIFF, my guest this evening at 5 also went to TIFF. So I'm going to be asking him, what he saw and things like that, what he liked. But thanks so much. I like pasta. I like pasta as well. So, you're already a part of the club here, clearly. Movies and pasta. We should do that. Tales from the Shelf. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Those Goodfellas were some pretty bad fellas. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's kind of showcasing like horrendous behavior through someone that's kind of, I don't want to say relatable, but like probably like the more relatable person in the movies. So then it's kind of is that mirror of looking at yourself and like, would you go along with this or would you be compliant and complicit? I think, yeah, I'm confusing compliant and complicit. Both I think apply to this actually. So, but yeah, I think that it's an interesting lens to show because it's not like you're supposed to feel bad for these people. You're not supposed to feel bad for any of those lead protagonists in any of those films. But it's rare that films really like, you're with that viewpoint the entire film and it's a completely messed up one. And I think it's a good commentary on those scenarios. Yeah, I think it's okay to have a protagonist that's incredibly unlikable. So it looks like my guest is here. I'm just going to say real quick, Casino is better slightly, but Goodfellas more rewatchable, if that makes sense. See, like that's how I feel too. I love Casino. It is way more intense dramatically, I think, in quite a lot of ways. Um, there is a little bit more humor in Goodfellas at times, or like a more like balance of a combination of those. But I think, yeah, I think I prefer Casino, but Goodfellas is definitely the more rewatchable film for sure. Kal-El Daily. I'm gonna get the little intro video up for my guest Cinematech. I'm so excited, and then we'll get the party started.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a nice sunny day in Toronto, so it feels like it's finally we're getting the last day of summer.
Oh my goodness. How is it? How is it normally this time of year there?
Oh, miserable, usually. All of the all of the colors change and everyone's like, "Oh, it's so beautiful." But then usually the last part of October is just rain and misery. But today it's sunny and nice, so the rain and misery is probably coming in a couple of days.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, it's crazy. Someone in the chat said it was 80 degrees in Chicago, and I couldn't believe that. So,
That's wild. It's
yeah.
only I think about 67, 68 in Toronto, but that's still pretty warm for this time of year.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've
No,
been
thank you for
a
having me.
huge fan of yours for such a long time. I was telling the chat that I did start watching your channel during last year's award season, and you did all these great live streams with the BAFTAs and Golden Globes, things like that. And just like it was so informative because you do get to go to the festivals, or you've been to them, and just like such a great perspective on things. And it was always really fun just getting your perspective on the winners and the nominees and things like that. And then when you transitioned into doing letterboxed roasts, I thought those were just fantastic. And I couldn't believe that. I mean, it was just such a great idea. And they're just hilarious and fantastic. And they're also made with love, I feel like. You're not just, shitting on people.
Yeah. That was always one of the things that when it came to the roast, I tried to stay true to this idea that like I'm just making fun of I'm making fun of like the things that this person likes, but it's always from this place of being kind of like a professional wrestling heel. Like I'm not actually being so serious about it. I'm just looking at something and saying like, oh, well, obviously this person lives in this city, so they're dumb and stupid. They like these movies, so obviously they're dumb and stupid as well. And none of it was true. There's something I often like looked into the camera and said to people like, I'm lying. These are all lies. You're wonderful people. But yeah, it was always just fun to do those. And I should credit there are a couple of people. I think Karsten Runquist did letterbox roasts before I did, but I think I was one of the first people to like try to serialize it and put it into a whole series. But I was standing on the shoulders of giants.
Oh, well, I mean, you just did them phenomenally.
Thank you.
And I feel like I could tell sometimes, and maybe you noticed this, that people maybe changed their letterboxd profiles a little bit because they wanted to be roasted by you. Did you ever get that?
Oh, yeah. Like, there were some people who were just fully changing their bios and being like, "Hey, TJ. Hey, Cinematech. Great to be here. Can't wait to be roasted." And there were definitely people who were creating lists, like, right before they were about to get roasted just to infuriate me. Like, there was one live stream in particular where someone knew that I have, like, very definitive opinions on the ranking of all of the Star Wars films, and so they made a Star Wars list that was just the antithesis of my opinion, and I comically kind of blew my cork and just really laid into them, and they were like, "This is great. This is everything that I wanted. I really wanted this guy to yell at me, and I did."
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm just going to check the chat really quickly, and then I have a bunch of questions for you. But I'm just
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I think this is so fun. Oh, what are you drinking, by the way? Before we have to
Oh,
get to the serious questions.
yeah. So I'm drinking. It's a local beer. It's a Amsterdam brewery called Three Speed. It's kind of like a Canadian version of Coors Light, so it has taste and alcohol. And I'm just having it out of this lovely little pint glass.
Perfect, lovely.
Hmm.
Okay, so we were having a we're gonna move on from this. We were having a is the casino or Goodfellas better conversation. What would you say actually? But before we move on, what do you think?
Between Casino and Goodfellas,
Yeah.
I think it's tough to say because I love Michelle Pfeiffer so much, and she is in Casino. So I want to just say that I think Casino is my favorite. But I think the person who said that like rewatching Goodfellas is a much easier thing to take on,
Hmm.
and I think that's generally true.
Yes.
So I kind of don't really have a favorite between the two. But if given the choice, I'd probably watch Goodfellas again.
It's Sharon Stone, right? Isn't it?
Oh
Or is it-
yeah, that's right. Sorry.
That they're like the same era, same look. It's same. I totally get that. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure from my end because I didn't want to say the. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Death Proof is underrated. Planet Terrorist. Yeah, we were talking about the Grindhouse double feature that came out.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe it's 15 years ago at this point. With Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, because Eli Roth is now like Thanksgiving is finally coming out, and I kind of feel like that's a little too late. Like I think they should have they should have just greenlit that when that movie came out, the double feature, because it was
Yeah.
part of that. You
Yeah.
know?
Ride the wave of popularity. What do you do in Hollywood?
Yeah. Um, wasn't able to check out the new Scorsese film, but it's on our watch list. Perfect. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Heisenberg is here because of you, clearly, because he's a big fan.
Happy to have him here.
Oh, and he's saying TJ roasted me for liking Fight Club.
Yeah, that was always an easy one. As
Yeah.
soon as someone had like Joker or Fight Club in their top 4, it's like, come on, you're not even challenging me.
Oh, that's good. Cape Fear by Scorsese is underrated. Great thriller. Yeah. And interesting about that, if you took into consideration inflation, Cape Fear would be his number 5 top box office performer. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
No.
But I think it's interesting. I think you were talking about it before, the amount of money that Scorsese films typically have made, with Killers of the Flower Moon being like number 1 or number 2, and the other one with Leonardo DiCaprio, Shutter Island, being number 1. And it's like, yeah, his movies have never ever really grossed a lot of money, which is so strange considering the legacy and the esteem that he has as a director.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I kind of think that that's kind of why it worked beneficially for him to do something with Apple, because Apple does not care if they make a profit at all.
Yeah,
So,
same thing with Netflix and The Irishman. They're just like, look, we need serious filmmakers to make serious films so people don't think that we're putting out like trash for soccer moms all the time.
yeah.
And, yeah, they paid hundreds of millions of dollars for it, and, the results vary depending on who you are, but, they were able to get that name, and that helped them out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We just got a new direct question for you, and I know you already told what this was, but Liam from Scotland wants to know what beer you're sipping. So one more time, if you could let
Yeah.
him know.
Hello, Liam. I'm drinking Three Speed from Amsterdam Brewery, which is a local brewery in Toronto.
Fantastic. So I know that you did get to go to TIFF. My
Mhm.
guest last week also went to TIFF. I did not go to TIFF, but I love having people on that did, because you guys get to see everything a lot earlier. I'd love to know things that maybe like really knocked your socks off, things that maybe you were a little disappointed by, and then as a general you know consensus moving forward, things that are standing out for you for the upcoming award season.
Yeah, this TIFF was actually very interesting because it was so heavily impacted by the actor strike and the writer's strike. I have a feeling that there were a number of films that were supposed to be at TIFF that didn't end up being at TIFF because their eventual release got moved back. Dune Part 2 being chief among them. And it kind of affected the festival in weird and interesting ways. So, to answer your question about the movies that kind of blew my socks off, there really weren't any. Usually, when I go to TIFF, there's one or two movies that after the whole festival is over, I'm like, okay, those are two of like the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And this was the first festival in a while where that was not the case. There was still lots of really good films, but nothing that just, tore me down emotionally and punched me in the face. Um, that said, there were a lot of good films. One of the ones that I just want to highlight to as many people as I possibly can is this Romanian film called Don't Expect Too Much from the End of the World.
Mm.
It's uh it's so wonderful, especially if you're someone who is interested in getting into the film industry, into the movie business, because it essentially just follows a production assistant who is being exploited, and you follow her through her entire day. And there's so much other stuff being layered on top of it. Like, this film is very much about the nature of truth in cinema. It's very much in conversation with communist Romanian filmmaking and the current day and how it's shifted. Um, and then it's also just taking pot shots at Andrew Tate like all the time. So it has that as like comedic elements sprinkled throughout it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I cannot recommend that film enough. It is, I think you could probably describe it as like a European art film. So if that, is a trigger word for you, don't check it out. But if you've got 2.5 hours to spend, definitely go check it out. I think it's a phenomenal film. And then beyond that, there was one film that was a big surprise. I actually didn't have a ticket for this film going into the festival. I kind of just saw that I had a gap and saw this film and it sounded interesting, so I picked it up. It's a German film called The Teacher's Lounge. And at the screening, which I think was the premiere at TIFF, they announced that it was going to be representing Germany at the Oscars for Best International Film. So immediately I was like, all right, this is probably going to be really good. And this movie is very much a thriller, but it takes place entirely in an elementary school, and it has to do with a teacher who has started to notice that things are going missing around the school, that people are being stolen from, and so she sets up this little surveillance.
I think we might have lost our friend. I'm gonna just I'll check in with him. Maybe his camera got off or something, or his internet. Either way, I was of course it's like I'm learning about this incredible new film from Germany that sounds fantastic called The Teacher's Lounge. We'll get back to him, I'm sure, momentarily. Oh, he's back. He's good. Okay, here we are.
I'm back.
Oh no. I'm gonna try to get rid of I'm gonna get rid of these other versions of him. Let's see. Usually I'm the one with the technical difficulties, so I don't ever mind that at all. Okay, let's see.
This time,
Yes.
okay. Don't know what happened there, but
That's okay.
yeah, I was talking about The Teacher's Lounge.
Yes.
It's so yeah, basically this teacher, she's able to capture something on the camera and then takes it to the principal and says, we need to do something about this. And then the rest of the film is essentially dealing with the consequences of that initial action. And it's this very tight thriller. It's only about 90, 100 minutes long. And there's a revelation at the end of the film, or revelation, excuse me. And it's just such a wonderful little like aha and like wink to the audience that you're like, oh, this is actually way clever, more clever than I thought it was. So really recommend that film as well, along with Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World.
Oh, fantastic. So I know you were saying that they're submitting it for international film for the Oscars.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest. I did see Anatomy of a Fall recently. I did not see The Zone of Interest yet, but I keep hearing so much about that film. Do you think? I think they're both obviously going to get nominated for Best International Film. What do you think are the chances are for Best Picture? Because I feel like there's like one spot for an international film, and it'll probably go to one of those. Unless you have a totally different opinion, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
No, I think it's true. And I think maybe in this year there might be a couple of more spots available just because some of the bigger films that we expected to be in award season are not going to be there. So Dune Part 2 is an example. That was a film I expected to be all over the Oscars, like nominated once again for 8 to maybe 12 categories. And with it not being there, that spot needs to be filled by someone. I've also heard that I think it's Neon that's distributing Anatomy of a Fall, and they're going for upwards of 4 to 5 categories, including Best Picture, and they're very good at doing that kind of work, as is A24. So I think that Anatomy of a Fall making it to Best Picture is certainly something that can happen. And Zone of Interest, which I haven't seen, unfortunately, also has a pretty okay shot at it. Although without seeing it, I have heard that it's a bit more on the experimental side, as you would expect from Jonathan Glazer. And I wonder if that may be a bit of a turnoff for the sort of broader voting pool of the Academy. So I don't know. From what I've heard, Anatomy of a Fall, and maybe you can speak to this a bit, is a bit more of a conventional, but like just really well made courtroom drama. Is that about right?
Yeah, it is, and the pacing's really good. The screenplay is really good. The dialogue was really what really blew me away, especially when dealing with a husband and wife relationship and arguing. It was there's so many perspectives involved with that. And I did not know till I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm just saying I didn't know till the end, who committed what. I still was guessing the whole time. I think Sandra, I believe it's Hewler, the main actress in that. I think she's definitely probably going to get a Best Actress nomination. But we'll see. I mean, if you said, yeah, I'm not surprised they're pushing for 4 or 5 nominations.
Yeah, and I think it's for the ones that you just highlighted. Like I think screenplay was in there, Best Picture, I think cinematography, and yeah, probably Best Actress, along with one other. Well, the international one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. I'm gonna get back in the chat real quick because we have a very active chat today.
For sure.
Cinematech, you're a legend. Let's get zooted. That's my that's my boyfriend, and
nice.
Yeah, we watch you all the time. So
well, thank you so much. I'm not going to get zooted today. Probably just this will be my one and only drink, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, he was very excited that I told him I was having you on. Nice. Inglourious Basterds Tarantino movie opinions. I mean, I personally love that movie. I don't know how you feel.
Oh, to me, it's his best film. At the very end when Brad Pitt says, "I think this is my masterpiece," I just wholeheartedly agree. I don't think he's done anything that matches that, and I think even he himself has come out and said that the Lauda character, the Nazi, I can't really remember his name, but that's
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz, yes, that's like the best character he's ever written, and I just think that's absolutely true. And I also kind of love that film because it did introduce me to a lot of performers that I hadn't really seen anywhere else, like Diane Kruger and Michael Fassbender, Christoph Waltz especially. And I just love the way it's put together. I can't really speak intelligently about it. I just love the violence in it, love everything that went into it.
I do too. And it's interesting that this film came up after I was talking about Anatomy of a Fall. And this is also not a spoiler, but Anatomy of a Fall is actually, I'd say, 50% in English. And and it's a conversation of in the household, 2 different people from different European countries, where they live, how they're raising their son, what language they're using, because she's German, and she learns French because she marries someone that's French, and instead of living in London, they moved to France. But yeah, it's oops, we missed him again. We lost him, but that's okay. I'm sure he can still hear me. I'm thinking, but if not, to anyone in the chat, I think he's coming back. Either way, with Anatomy of a Fall, it's a very interesting conversation of language and how people communicate and learning other.
I don't think I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me? Can you hear me now? No?
I'll be right back.
Okay. But yeah, so there's a really great line in why the family chose to do what they do as far as raising their son and what language he speaks and all that stuff. And so it is very interesting. And I love the use of language in Inglorious Bastards. I love the use of language in Past Lives. I found a very strong similarity with Past Lives and Anatomy of a Fall, because the first 20, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes is in Korean of past lives, and then it's interchanged throughout. And there's a lot of commentary on that of dating someone that doesn't speak the language or marrying someone that doesn't speak the language, and how much does that culture live inside you? Do you lose any of that? And so there's a lot of that. I love that that's being talked about. I think it's like when you watch these movies, TJ, it's like why especially Canada is extremely diverse as well. Melting pots like in the United States, it's like I'm surprised there isn't more of that being done. And of course, these are either independent films or foreign films that are kind of blending all the languages.
Yeah, and actually, it's something in Canadian cinema that we're starting to see a lot of. One of the ways that a lot of Canadian films get made is that they are co-productions between Canada and many other different countries. So, say someone immigrates to Canada from Serbia and they want to make a film, quite often they will get together with the film production wherever of or whoever of Serbia, and they'll make a film jointly together. And there's certain criteria it has to meet, but yeah, that's a lot of way that a lot of Canadian films end up getting made. And so, sort of intrinsic to that is that a lot of those stories end up being about immigrant families, multi-generational families, or just people attempting to connect and be in a new place where they haven't spent most of their lives. And so you quite often get this idea of language going back and forth. How do we understand each other? How do we communicate? Recently, I think last year, one of my favorite films at TIFF was called Rice Boy Sleeps. It's a film about Korean immigrants coming to Vancouver and trying to make their way and figure things out there. It's actually a beautiful film. I think it was shot on 16 millimeter. It's phenomenally well shot.
Wow.
And yeah, it's one of those films where it's mostly in Korean, but also has a lot of English in it. And it speaks to kind of the Canadian experience, since we are a country of immigrants.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I realized really quickly, I want to put you on large, and I usually do this every time a guest comes on. I'm going to put you on full screen, and if you could just maybe tell uh, everyone in the chat, what made you fall in love with films, your experience, or your why you're so passionate, why you started the channel, things like that. I'd love to do like a little introduction, even though we're like in the middle of our conversation. But I just
Mhm.
really I just want to make sure that everyone gets to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. Um, when do you want me to start? Right now? Just go?
Right, good. Yeah.
Okay. So hello everybody. I first started falling in love with film at a very young age. I can actually just tell a very quick story about the first time I ever went to see a film in a theater, because I think it's very I think it says a lot about why I love film. It was, I believe, 1991. 101 Dalmatians was on its 25th anniversary tour or something like that, and my mom wanted to take me to a film. So we went to go see 101 Dalmatians at a movie theater in Brampton, I think. For those of you who are from Ontario, you know where that is. And my first memory of a theater was walking in. We got there maybe 5 minutes after the movie had started. And my first memory of a theater is these big double doors just opening, and then me walking in, and basically my eyes going from the ground all the way up to this, 100-foot screen projecting a giant animated film that I had only up until then had been watching on like a 13-inch TV. And that just blew my little 6-year-old mind. So from that moment, I was like, movies are awesome. I need to go see things in theaters. And a lot of my early experience with going to the theater was all Disney. Lion King, going to see that in a theater was a big deal. Going to see Aladdin was a big deal. And then as I got older, I lived out in a rural area, no cable TV to speak of. So the local video store was how I interacted with a lot of media. And then as time went on and DVDs started to become a thing, one of the main things that got me into like more serious cinema actually was apple.ca/trailers. For those of you who are a bit younger, you may not know this, but in the pre-YouTube days, trailers were largely only available on the Apple website because they were using it as a way of like letting people know about QuickTime and how good it was as a video medium. So it was on the Apple Trailers website that I started seeing trailers for films like Elephant and Brick. And when I saw those, I was interested, I was intrigued. So I ended up tracking down DVDs of both of those films, Elephant specifically, and that, to my knowledge, was the first time I saw like a Palme d'Or winning film. And I suddenly understood that there was so much more to the medium than just blockbusters and the occasional like independent American film, which it was, admittedly. And it was at that point that I decided I wanted to do something with film. And when I went to university, I kind of had a choice of what I wanted to do. And studying film at university seemed like a really great idea because I thought that maybe there would be less reading and there would certainly be no math. Turns out there's actually a lot of reading for all of those of you who are thinking about being film scholars. And when I went to university, that's when really the key like fully unlocked, because I started seeing films from directors that I had only ever heard of or had never heard of, really. So, the Kurosawas and the Fellinis and so on and so on and so on. And that, along with the history of the medium that I learned in first year, was just like, oh, this is actually an incredible way to understand and know how people of a different time or a different country think about themselves, the stories that they actually decide to tell. And that was basically it for me. I was in love. I was fully in love with it. So I went through university. I did a college course on filmmaking. Then I got into the film industry, got out of the film industry because it's tough. It's tough. If you think that working 12-hour days is not your thing, don't go into the film industry because you'll have to work longer hours than that. And then from there, I have a master's degree now in film preservation, and I've been working in the media industry in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, really, my love for cinema was kind of unlocked by Elephant, watching The Matrix and Independence Day way too many times on VHS, and then going to university and being exposed to so many films that I hadn't even heard of. But as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, this is some of the best shit ever. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, there's so many things that I want to address from that. First of all,
Yes.
I used to be obsessed with the apple.com/trailer. I think for us, it was just slash trailers. But yeah, same site. That was the best place to go. You could just binge watch all the new trailers. And I'm so mad that it's not there anymore.
Oh, I know. And like it was almost a ritual or like a kind of like mysticism about it, right? Because like, back in the day, and I'm sure you can remember this since you remember the website, dial up internet or like very, very slow internet. And when a film like The Matrix Reloaded had its first trailer drop on that website, you had the option of watching it in HD, which was like unheard of. So I remember being like with my friends in computer class in high school, we're clicking on this thing and we are very slowly watching the buffering thing load up because we're like, this is going to be incredible. We can watch this in like 720p. And it took like an hour.
Yeah.
You guys don't know how lucky you are with YouTube right now. But yeah, it was just magic almost. It was slow magic, but it was magic.
Yeah, and I agree. When you do take, if you do go to college and study film, or even you just take some college courses, I remember when I was in college, I took I think it was. I'm not positive what the one film course I took. It was a little bit more generic, but I did take a Hitchcock class, and that was just fantastic. And I watched a lot of ones that I never would have, even, especially at that age, when you're younger, like I didn't know what Strangers on a Train was, and now that's like one of my favorite Hitchcock movies ever. So I think it is so great to have that exposure. And now with streaming, you have access to everything for the most part, that plus physical media, and it's just fantastic to be able to experience new directors and even classics from directors you already love that you never got to see. And then the third thing I wanted to say was I totally agree with you when you say like your childhood was that epic Disney experience, because I totally agree with that. My first experience was seeing The Little Mermaid, and that was my first movie ever in the theater. And I was like 3 or 2.5, but I still remember not all of it, but I remember bits and parts of it. And then yeah, like I think they brought back 101 Dalmatians for a little bit, but I definitely saw that and Aladdin, and all those, Lion King. Um, how do you feel about the direction that they're going with the I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I just want to hear your opinion on this. The Disney live action remakes, because they're very problematic. There's like a handful that I like, but for the most part, they seem to always miss the mark. And I'd like to hear what you feel about that.
Yeah, I honestly can't speak too much about them because I have just avoided them with the exception of the Little Mermaid remake. I
Okay.
think I was just having a bit of a dull day and I decided to go to the movie theater and check it out. I
Hmm.
largely am not interested in them. And I think this is becoming more true with just the general output from Disney. It seems to be becoming more and more nakedly just a cash grab, trying to earn money off of people's nostalgia and not much more than that. The films tend to come off, and this is true of the live action films, this is true of MCU films over the last few years. They are just soulless artistic creations that are largely just it's people in boardrooms making decisions, and it's not artists like on set making decisions about how best to tell a story. And I think that comes through in the filmmaking, and I think that is now finally starting to come through in the response to these films as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. There's only and I brought this up on this channel. I think that the one that I did appreciate a lot was when Kenneth Branagh did Cinderella, and I think that was like the first one or one of the early ones. And I thought because that's really in his wheelhouse, it worked out well for that scenario. And then the only one I'm really looking forward to is actually Questlove is doing the Aristocats, and I just like really want to see some jazz cats, and I'm just looking forward to that one. But
That'll actually be good. I'll go see that one.
yeah. But I'm gonna go back into the chat, and you've been such a fantastic guest so far. My goodness, all your answers have been fantastic. Um, Through the lens, he's a really supportive person on the channel. He also has a channel as well. Anatomy of a Fall should win something. It's truly amazing. Yes, I'm glad you feel that way. Fans of something. Hey Tracy. Hey chat. Hey TJ.
Hello.
Yes, everyone's saying hi. Um, is it the DiCaprio movie topic? I mean, we were kind of talking about him and Scorsese films. I'd say. But we weren't really focusing just specifically on Leo.
Yeah.
But
How did you feel about Leo's performance in Killers of the Flower Moon?
I thought that I didn't feel like he did anything new that I haven't seen before, but I felt that he served the role well, I
Mm,
guess. You're never supposed to like him. A lot of the Scorsese protagonists you're not supposed to like,
yeah.
but you see it through that lens. And I liked when he was with De Niro. I thought those were really powerful, and it's kind of like when you play tennis. And you have, they always say play tennis with someone that's better than you, to get that going. And because I don't think Leo's a bad actor. I just saying I don't think I saw anything over the top new from him. But I
Mhm.
thought that those scenes were really electric.
Yeah, yeah, I tend to agree. I was talking with some friends after seeing the film, and I like one of the main things I came away with in terms of Leo in the film was that the first half of the film, it felt like he was very gimmicky, that he
Mm.
was really playing a gimmick as opposed to like doing actual honest character work. And then when I was thinking about it a little bit more today before coming on here, I realized that the main reason why I think I prefer his performance in the second half of the film is because Lily Gladstone, who is incredible in the film, kind of fades out of the movie at some point. She's still there, she's
Mm.
still present, but she's not really having scenes with Leo anymore. And I think that maybe I prefer his performance in the second half because he's no longer having to keep up with her.
Oh
A-
yeah.
yeah. And I think I may have to watch the movie again to kind of confirm that. But yeah, I distinctly remember liking his performance more when he no longer had to compete with her in a scene. And she's like such a scene stealer. It's incredible.
Ah, my goodness. incredible. And I'm glad you brought up Lily Gladstone because that's a question I was going to ask you as well. So, initially people thought she would get into the Best Supporting Actress category. Now it's confirmed they're pushing for Best Actress category. I personally feel that she would have probably a better chance at winning if she was in Best Supporting. But I think it's more about the importance of the nomination and what that represents for her to be in the Best Actress category. And I mean, I think that she in the film comes off as a Best Actress role. I just know initially they were saying, like it would probably be supporting, but I don't know if that really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. For me, I tend to be kind of a traditionalist when it comes to how these nominations go. Like, I think that if you're the lead actor, then the film is about you. And if you're a
Mm.
supporting actor, then you are someone in a film about somebody else. And I feel like this is a film about Leonardo DiCaprio's role or about Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and she's there supporting that. So for me, I think that it should be a supporting role. But I totally understand why she's being put forward for lead actress because it's such a significant moment. Um, I just hope that it doesn't backfire in the way that I think it was Michelle Williams last year who was in The Fablemans, and she was going to go, I think, initially for Best Supporting Actress, but then they decided to push her for lead instead, and that ended up backfiring, and she didn't win anything in award season. Whereas many people, especially coming out of TIFF, where The Fablemans premiered, we were all just saying like, "Oh yeah, Michelle Williams for Best Supporting Actress." Like it's so easy, it's so obvious. So hopefully the same thing doesn't happen to Lily Gladstone. But also, I think in terms of like this year, the only real competition in that category for lead actress that she's going to face is maybe Margot Robbie. I can't think of, and I guess probably Emma Stone as well. So I don't know if she's going to have much of a problem getting that win, but I do think it would be an easier win if she had stuck with supporting, or if the studio had decided to stick with supporting.
Yeah, I think so far, I mean, if we wanted to like if there's going to be 5, I mean, I think yes, Emma Stone I think is a shoe-in just because of what I've been hearing. I can't wait to see that movie, by the way.
Yeah,
Uh,
same.
I'm so excited to see Poor Things. I do think Sandra Huller is probably going to get Best Actress. I know that Greta Lee, is that her name from Past Lives? I think it's Greta Lee. I don't think she's going to get an acting nom just because of the competition, but I would like to see her there. And then I do think besides the ones that you mentioned, I think the only other one is Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. I think is
Mm,
probably a big potential there as well.
okay, yeah, that all sounds. Yeah, I think that all sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm so excited to see. Did you see the holdovers at TIFF?
I didn't. A lot of the big films at TIFF I kind of missed out on. I tend to when I go to that festival, I because there's like 300 films in the festival, I tend to try to go see the films that I'm pretty sure I will never get a chance to ever see again. TIFF is like really good for that. Um, you could say it's a bad thing as well because it just reminds you how many films that are being made every year, and you're never ever going to watch all of them. But yeah, I tend to try to see the films that I'm never going to be able to see again. So when I see a film directed by Alexander Payne or starring like certain people from Hollywood, I know that I'm going to have that opportunity again. Whereas like random film from the Philippines that no one has heard anything about, I'm probably more likely going to go check that out.
I love that. That's fantastic. That does make sense because I guess at the end of the day, if you just wait like a couple of months, you'll be able to see those, big premiering films
Mhm.
via streaming or in the theater.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and a couple of films from TIFF, like they started playing at the TIFF Bell Lightbox Theater like the week after the festival. So it's if you play the waiting game a little bit, you can focus more on films that are just less likely to make it into the conversation or to even be available.
yeah. I just want to bring this up because I definitely agree with this as well. Jackie Brown is his most slept on film. Yeah, I actually watched Jackie Brown in the past 3 years for the first time, and I couldn't believe I had waited so long. And I absolutely love it, and it's in like my top 3 favorites now.
Oh, really? I need to revisit it. I haven't seen it in probably 20 years.
I think you'd really appreciate and the pacing, like there's certain times Tarantino will get a little draggy
Hmm.
at certain times. There's none of that in Jackie Brown at all, and it's so tight, and the script's really good, and it's constant. I think you'd like it. I think you should revisit it.
All right, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. Through the lens that I remember TJ roasted my letterbox, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, I'm glad.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I remember Through the Lens coming onto my streams occasionally, so I appreciate you being in here too.
Yeah, he's great. And this is his take. Saw Killers of the Flower Moon yesterday, and I think it's really great, but super hard to digest at points. Might hit more for me on a rewatch. I kind of think it'll hit a lot more on a rewatch, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
I probably do need to rewatch it. My initial impression of the film was like not overly favorable. I think I gave it like a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It really, to me, felt very conventional. Maybe the most conventional film I've seen out of Scorsese in a long time. Didn't feel like there was many risks being taken, especially aesthetically, and for whatever reason, that just kind of like put me off. Um, and yeah, if not for Lily Gladstone in that role, I could probably just kind of dismiss this film. But I do think I need to watch it again because maybe there's just stuff that I'm missing because obviously everyone is in love with this movie. So I need to probably need to give it another go.
Well, I did post this on my community thing yesterday, and this is really for people in the chat as well. There's a review of Killers of the Flower Moon from an Indigenous person, and it's like a 35-minute video, and it's so insightful of just the paying attention to details and things like that Scorsese did, and he hired like an entire crew of people to make sure everything was authentic and accurate to tribe. And then there are also aspects of things that he liked that hit him in an emotional way that he knows would relate to Indigenous people, but also mostly non-Indigenous people, because that's the whole argument. And he says it's not made for people of oh my God, I'm blanking out on the tribe's name right now. But
The
for that,
Osage.
yes, the Osage, thank you. Not for that specific tribe. It's actually for everyone else to, and the film's a mirror, and it's kind of like, and choosing someone like Leo to be in that part. It's like, look at all these people that are so able to just go along with this, like that scene when he at the end of the film, and sorry for if there's any spoilers, I'm going to be very vague, but there's lawyers involved and the townspeople telling Leo to pretty much not testify, and that's kind of like all these people are just, it felt like just this claustrophobic room of complicity, and
Yeah.
I think that's stuff that it's jarring in a way, and and yeah, so I don't know, we could go on and on. I'm very hesitant to talk about because it's just came out, and I don't want people in the chat to be like, oh my God, you spoiled everything. So
Yeah, for sure. As you're looking up another thing to say in the chat, I'll just add one more thing to Killers of the Flower Moon. I
yeah.
think that speaking to your point about the detail in the film, I think that this is a film where it is so detailed that it raises a number of interesting questions that could themselves be great movies. The one thing that I saw that I really want to know more about, and for those of you who haven't seen the film, there is the KKK is in the film. And there's a moment in the film where there's a parade happening, and there are Indigenous people in the parade, and they're celebrating veterans who fought in World War I believe, who were Indigenous. And then behind them in line in the parade is the KKK. And I am so fascinated by that. Like, in what world is this white supremacist terrible organization like okay with marching behind Indigenous people? And I trust Marty enough that that is something that happened, and that's something that existed in that world. And so I want to know the calculus of that. I want to be in the board meetings of the people who decided that. Like, that just, and this kind of happens all throughout the film. Like, you just keep seeing these little things in the background. You're like, I want to know more about that. Like, I want to stop this movie and go read a book and then come back.
I agree with you. I mean, I watch a lot of there's a thing called CBS Sunday Morning, and it's little like vignettes of just things like, artistic or political or whatever. And I watch it on YouTube every Sunday because I used to watch it as a kid with my parents. And there was this interview with Rachel Maddow because she just came out with a book about early Nazi pro-Hitler stuff in the 19 I don't know, I'd say maybe 10 to 15 years before the war in Manhattan. And they actually had an entire Nazi convention at Madison Square
Oh yeah.
Garden.
Yeah, I've
And it
seen
was
footage of
just
that.
like regular people just going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. So that just reminds me so much of what you're saying about the KKK parade. Ugh, wild. Here's a good question for you. Any festival films that still haunt you? Never got a distributor, never blew up, lost in the shuffle.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, the year is 2018. I am at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I have already seen films like Roma and Burning. Cold War is at this festival, although I didn't see it at the festival. Probably the best TIFF that has ever happened was 2018, at least in terms of my attendance. And at that festival, I decided to take a flyer on a film from Tibet, I think, although I may not be correct on that. Directed by a filmmaker named Pema Tesden, who has sadly passed away since, and he created a film called Jinpa. And that film is essentially like a Lynchian Western that takes place at 4,000, 5,000 feet above sea level in basically in the mountains. Very desolate landscapes. It was all shot, I think, on 16 millimeter film. And it's just beautiful and striking in a way that I very rarely see. And it has this relationship with reality that is maybe a little bit tenuous, and it allows you to revel in every single image. Like, it's not a quick film, it's not a fast film. It just lets you be in the moment in every single one of these stunning cinematographic creations that it has. And yeah, it's just one of those films that's completely gone off the radar. I think, and maybe this is for the people who, after hearing me say those words, want to go check it out. I think it's on a streaming service called Ovid, which
Okay.
is, in the list of places that show like art films or whatever. It's like Criterion Collection, Mubi, and then Ovid's like maybe one more rung below that. But yeah, it's a brilliant film, and that one definitely haunts me. And it's just, yeah, it's one of those films where if anyone asks me, I'm like, yeah, that one. I would love for that to get some love somehow.
That's fantastic. That was a good question. I'm glad because you do get to see so much, so many unique things that yeah, if they don't get distributed, what do they
Yeah,
do with them?
there's nothing. There's nothing.
Um,
I'll add maybe one more to that. There
sure,
was a
yeah.
film from the Philippines that I saw a couple of years ago called Verdict. And it's all about a woman who is, I think, attempting to get a divorce because her husband is abusive, and the whole film is kind of this, camera on a shoulder, like verite style, following people around, and it's very much about the ridiculousness of the legal system and how it just privileges men and hates women, essentially, and makes it exceptionally difficult to ever get a divorce, even if there is cause.
Mm.
And it's kind of this just Kafka-esque thing that will make you so angry and so infuriated. So if you can find that, I think it's from the Philippines. If not, it's from a Southeast Asian country called Verdict. And I think it came out in 2020 or 2019, maybe. It's hard to remember. But yeah, that film was also great.
I'm definitely gonna keep a lookout for both of those. That's for sure.
Please do.
Hey TJ, why don't you rate certain movies on Letterboxd?
Yes, good question. Mostly because when I started tracking the movies that I was watching, I was using another website called I Check Movies, and I was really just literally just checking off all the films that I had seen. And then when I went over to Letterboxd, I took that list with me, and I didn't bother to rate those films. So, I've seen, I think, close to 38, if not a little bit over 3,800 films at this point. And it would just take me a lot of time to go back through and re-rate all of those films that I've seen, in some cases 25 years ago and never again. And I also don't feel comfortable rating a lot of them because I just don't remember them. You get to a point, you watch enough films, or as many films as I have, and some of them you just don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Mhm.
I have a film diploma. Not a lot of my friends know that, but I can't use it. I've tried, but never got anywhere. I mean, it's tough. Film degrees are tough, I think. when it
Yeah, I
comes
mean,
to that.
if you're looking to, like get a job with a film degree, that's really tough. I say that from experience. Um, but yeah, if you mean like you find it difficult to communicate with people on that kind of level where you now have a lot of terms and a lot of knowledge that a lot of other people don't share, yeah, that can also be a hurdle. I find that the best way to kind of get over that is to, communicate with people on their level. Try to uh, don't try to speak over their head or anything like that. Just have conversations with people, and then you're probably going to have that ability to maybe sneak in somewhere like, oh, did you know Night of the Living Dead is actually about capitalism? And then just go off on that for a second, and then stop, and then you can continue. Um, yeah.
Yeah. um, R.I.P. Calculin Mahler's latest Saw video just premiering. Oh, that's fine. Enjoy. um, I seem to be the only person who is excited for Harmony Korine's Ago Drift. No, I saw this. I'm curious about that. Um, what do you think about Harmony Korine in general as a director?
I uh, mostly like Harmony Korine. I first was exposed to him with his film Julian Donkey Boy, kind of like how you said you were taking a film that was all Hitchcock back in the day. I did a course that was all about the Dogma 95 film movement, which includes directors like Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg, most famously.
Hmm.
But also Harmony Korine, one of his first films, was part of that movement, and it's fucked up. It's a messed up movie. And I think that kind of set the tone for the rest of Harmony Korine's work. Like, I think writing Kids and directing Gumo, and then Spring Breakers is another film that I really enjoy. That is honestly one of my favorite theatrical experiences going to see it. Argo Drift, though, I had an opportunity to see it, and I just said no because some of the early reviews that I heard of it were like, "Oh, Harmony Korine wasn't making a movie here. He was just messing around. He was just trying stuff." And so I don't know if it's. I just wasn't sure if it was really worth checking out. I think I might ultimately do it when I have a chance because it's only 80 minutes. It's not a big time sink, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't even know where it's able to be seen yet.
It was at TIFF, and then beyond that, I haven't heard a single thing about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Josh from Through the Lens knows. Hello, Cody. Thank you so much. Don't forget to roundhouse kick that like button. Yeah, thank you very much.
Like Busta Rhymes and Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah. A bunch of people saying how much they like Jackie Brown. Yeah, perfect. Here we are. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go on to some more stuff here. So we are kind of coming to an end of the conversation, but if Oscar stuff happens, that's totally fine. I just have to make sure that I ask you about horror, just because it
Oh,
is
yeah.
spooky season.
Mhm.
Things that you've seen recently, or just favorites of yours. I'd love anything you have to say about that.
Yeah, just quickly off the bat, I'll say, don't see the new Exorcist movie. It's bad. Um, Beyond that, and I really don't feel the need to just go into that any further. It's just shit. Beyond that, there are a couple of films that I want to just highlight for people. Back in the day, I used to have people over to my place, and I would show them. I would do like double bills of films every month, and then in October, I would do it every weekend because it's a spooky season, and you want to watch horror movies with friends. And I randomly did one that kind of focused on like current Eastern European horror films, and I showed two films back to back that I think everyone should go check out. The first one I think is from Turkey or Hungary. I think it's Turkey though, called Baskin, Baskin. And the way that the film starts out is that I've said Lynchian probably too many times in this video, but it has a kind of Lynchian quality to it where everything's very kind of calm, but it's off. There's just something that's not quite right, especially with the way that they use colors in the film. It makes you think that you're in some kind of dreamy landscape. And then there's a moment in the film when you cross over into hell, essentially, and it becomes a gory and intense film. And I think it's one that I think a lot of people should check out if you haven't. It's an interesting approach to the horror genre. And then on a more maybe explosive, the more explosive side, there's a film that's in the Criterion Collection from Poland called The Lure, which is about mermaids, but the mermaids are approached in the way that like David Cronenberg would approach mermaids if he was making this film in the 1980s. A lot of body horror, lots of ridiculousness in it. And also I think the mermaids, they desperately want to be part of a rock band. So there's like musical components to it as well. And yeah, it's a grimy, it's a dirty film. It has like the perfect aesthetic for this time of year as well. It's definitely not a clean movie. And it's a really interesting take on like monster movies in the modern age. And then if you want like gory movies, just watch Cannibal Holocaust. Doesn't get more messed up than that.
Very true. Yeah, I one of the more recent ones I saw that I actually genuinely liked, except I thought it just ended so abruptly and I wanted more, was Cobweb. Did you see Cobweb?
I haven't, but it's on my list. Is it good?
I thought, I mean, we'll have to talk about it when you see it because
Okay.
I think you'll understand what my issue is. But I honestly, it was the most eerie, freaked out, creeped out I've been in a while. So I thought the visuals were quite good. So
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try to check that one out.
yes, great to see TJ live again and great stream.
Hey, Paul. Paul's a regular in my live streams when I was doing them.
Oh, very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Aggro Drift showed at Venice and TIFF, but nothing has been heard of since.
Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Dabenstein says Cobweb was in my opinion. Well, my opinion has to do with the end, and that's why I give it a but I literally loved like 95% of it, and
Yeah.
it bothers me what they chose with that. Anyway,
It's such a
we're not-
shame that like the last 5 minutes of a film can just completely ruin it, right?
Right. Well, we're not. Yeah. And no spoilers for TJ. Everyone in the chat. So, okay, cool. So we have the next couple months of award season. What are you are you also looking forward to? Anything that you're looking forward to that you haven't seen besides like Poor Things, things like that? Do you have any like offhand predictions that you think might get a nomination, or like you'd bet money on but no one's thinking so? Or I'd like to just overall general opinion, I guess, of this year.
Yeah. I think it's such a weird award season, mostly because Dune is no longer involved in it. And I think because up until this point, it's essentially been Barbie versus Oppenheimer and how that all is going to play out. And now that we have Killers of the Flower Moon involved, it makes things a little bit more murky. I don't really have any hard and fast like, oh, I really hope this happens or I think this would be cool. The one thing that I'm into though, after seeing Killers of the Flower Moon, I hope that film gets nominated for Best Original Score. And because I usually prefer scores that are not, traditionally orchestral, I hope that it wins. And actually, you know what? I lied. I do kind of have a left field pick that I can talk about. One of the films that I saw at TIFF was called Perfect Days. It's the new film by Wim Wenders that he made in Japan. And the lead in it, Koji Yakusho, I'm probably saying that very incorrectly, but he is phenomenal in this movie and has like that perfect clip at the end of the movie that they could just play when he's getting his name read at the nominations. I think that he has a chance of getting nominated for Best Actor. And I hope that he does. And also this film, I think, is going to the Oscars as the international pick for Japan. So it has a chance for a double nomination.
Wow.
But yeah, if anyone out there is like into slow cinema and just kind of wants to chill out and kind of just be in a movie, Perfect Days by Wim Wenders, another great one that came out of TIFF. Aside from that, I don't think I have any other left field picks. Yeah, I think that's about all. That's all about. What about you? What are you thinking is going to be kind of wild and crazy?
Well, I only have a left field thing that I think should be nominated, but I don't think it's going to because there's literally no buzz on it. And I really think that from Beau is Afraid, I think Patti LuPone should get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. But I don't think no one's gonna, it's just too weird of a movie, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe Joaquin Phoenix is nominated for Best Actor for that?
Well, we've got Napoleon coming out, so I mean, I feel like maybe
Mm,
that one. It's I don't know. He might cancel himself out with both those films.
that's
But no
true. That's
one's
true.
talking about Beau is Afraid at all for the Oscars, and I just think there's certain things, even, like, craftsmanship-wise with the movie that, like, could deserve some stuff.
Yeah, I think cinematography for Beau is Afraid could very well be the way that it gets in. And then
Mm.
Joaquin Phoenix could happen, but I don't know. Yeah, now that you mention it with Napoleon coming out, that could, excuse me, that could be the one that they go with.
Right, yeah, yeah, and I just felt I felt like the whole revelation with his mom and, like, Patti LuPone being the scariest woman in the movie, like, oh my like, I don't know, I thought she was incredible, but I could definitely see people just not even remembering it and focusing on other performances, but I haven't seen a ton of over the top Best Supporting Actress, performances this year so far. I know I still have, like, 14 or 15 movies to see, but
Yeah, I think, oh man, I don't know. I'm now just like looking at the films that I saw at TIFF and I'm like, oh, what could actually end up being something that goes somewhere? I kind of hope that The Contestant makes it in for best documentary. That was the best documentary I saw at TIFF.
Hmm,
Um, it's about a guy who decided to be on like a Japanese game show, and the game was that he was essentially stripped naked and put in a room, and he was only allowed to survive on things that he won in like write-in contests from
oh my
magazines.
god, wow.
And yeah, the film is like it's one of those movies where at about halfway through, you're like, humanity probably doesn't need to exist. We could probably just stop. No more humanity is needed. And then as it continues, you're like, you know what? Maybe we're not so bad. It tears you down and it lifts you back up. Um, yeah, I don't know. Everything else, every other opinion that I have is kind of like, oh, maybe Nicolas Cage randomly gets in for Dream Scenario for Best
Oh.
Actor. Like, wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be a fun thing to
Yeah.
happen? But that's probably more likely going to be a Independent Spirit Award type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Bring back Billy Crystal to host every Oscars till he's gone. I would second that, actually. I love Billy Crystal.
Yeah. This is actually
Uh,
something that came up a lot on my live streams. People were very adamant that like the Oscars should just stop having hosts. Like just don't even bother with it. And I think one of the things that would benefit from that, like I'm of the opinion that the Oscars should be just like a full out unapologetic celebration of films. And I don't like it when they bring in comedians who try to like take pot shots here and there. Like, Ricky Gervais doing the Golden Globes is always going to be hilarious. But I think that the Oscars just need to be such a celebration that
mhm.
you almost can't make fun of it. Um, and I would prefer them to go that route. And I think probably the best way to do that is not even having hosts anymore.
Which is a shame because I think if it's a good like, I think probably Billy Crystal's a great example, absolutely, like, of what you're trying because he doesn't really do, like, digs. He was more of that
Yeah,
celebratory era.
yeah. He's
And
just doing
then
like
yeah.
comedy. He's not taking a strip out of anyone.
Right, and then there was that era where they tried no hosts, and then it felt kind of flat, and they didn't show any clips from the performances. They didn't even show, like, the script when they're talking about best screenplay. Like, I love all that stuff, like the
Mhm.
visualizations. And then I felt last year, to be honest, I thought Jimmy Kimmel did, like, a much more of, like, an old school approach to hosting the Oscars, and I did
Yeah.
appreciate that they brought back a lot of the visuals accompanying the
Yeah.
nominations, but
I was really worried about Jimmy Kimmel because he like I think a couple of years ago with that Western film that was from Netflix. I forget the name of it now. The Jane Campion film.
oh,
He
yeah,
was
Power of the Dog.
Yeah, he was very critical of that on his show, and he kind of had this very like, "Oh, why is this film even nominated for anything? It barely made any money. Where's like Top Gun? Where's the Marvel films or
Oh,
whatever?"
yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know if I want this guy hosting the Oscars. I do think the last great Oscar host that I can remember, I think, was Hugh Jackman, and the way that they kind of turned the Oscars into a musical, that was great. I would, I would,
Oh.
I would watch that 100% again, all of that again.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I think a lot of a lot of the stand-ups, like the late night people, like I've heard that joke so many times. It's like, oh, best picture nominations are for all the movies that no one saw this year, and it's like we
Yeah,
get it, but like people could see them. And I think distribution is better now than ever, so there's really not an excuse to not see them. I could see it back in the day before all these streaming services, but now it's like, well, now everyone can literally see them. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and to some people, that's kind of the problem. You have too much choice, so it's impossible to even pick a film to watch. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, if you hear good things about a film and you think that it might be something that you're interested in, just check it out. Just watch the damn thing.
Oh, I agree. So many people are popping in. We're coming to an end here, guys. So I'm just gonna say hello to you, Laren. Thank you so much. Through the Lens, production design for Beau is Afraid. Yeah, that would be a nice one, I would say. Um, I'm gonna watch Planet Earth 3, but great stream. We'll tune into the next one, of course. Thank you so much. Hugh Jackman was a great host, and I loved his moment with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, you've been a great guest. So thank you so much. I'd love to have you on in the future when it gets closer to the Oscars. It was a great conversation. Everyone loved you in the chat. So thank you so much. Is there anything, I know you're kind of taking a break from YouTube. Is there anything that you want to promote or your Discord and Letterbox or talk about anything?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a good thing. If anyone wants to follow my kind of weird but ultimately always correct takes on movies, I'm on Letterboxd. You can follow me there. And if you want to join the Cinematech community, even though I'm not putting up videos anymore, you can join the Discord. It's linked in the description box below. Thank you, Tracy, for doing that. And come hang out and talk about movies. And yeah, the Cinematech YouTube channel, I'm not really gonna be doing anything with it for a long time, if at all ever. But I'm leaving the door open to potentially coming back. I just kind of need to figure out if I want to, and if I do, what that content looks like. So yeah, there's a chance, but not a great one.
Okay. Well, you've been just a pleasure to have on this channel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I'll come back on whenever you want.
I'm thrilled. I'm very gracious and thankful. Thank you very much. Everyone in the chat, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.